Kyle Filipowski's case may be one of the strangest I've ever seen. Yeah, we could say controversies overshadowed his basketball talent, or so it seemed on draft night, because it's not normal for a talent like Kyle to have fallen all the way to the second round in one of the weakest draft classes in recent league history. However, there's one thing all GMs know. Controversy has nothing to do with a player's potential on the hardwood, right? But what's really happened? Why was everyone talking about Filipowski on draft night? Well, the answer's simple. A player's mentality is almost as important as his talent, and Kyle's situation, despite being considered one of the best prospects of his entire generation, has caught absolutely everyone's attention. I mean, the man at 20 years of age has no contact with his family, and that's just the tip of the iceberg. So, let's talk about this. Kyle was born in Middletown, New York in 2003. He was a city kid. He was also a city kid all through his teenage years. He first attended Minnesink Valley High School in Slate Hill in New York City itself, but he decided to transfer after his freshman year to Fordham Preparatory School in the Bronx. Filipowski eventually played for a third high school team, Wilbraham and Monson Academy in Massachusetts, where he was named Gatorade Player of the Year in 2021. Despite playing one more year in high school than normal due to reclassification, Kyle was considered one of the best prospects in the country. The big man had an incredible 6'10" frame at 18 years old, and his slight 220 pounds allowed him to be one of the most mobile centers in the class. That led to huge recruiting interest among many of the top college programs across the country: Iowa, Michigan, Ohio State, Marquette, Syracuse, UCLA, UConn, Wake Forest. Kyle was one of the most highly rated prospects, and all of the scouts knew it. In fact, Filipowski received a 5-star rating from Rivals, 24/7 Sports, and ESPN, which also gave him a grade of 93. But finally, the center decided to accept the offer from Duke, where he could be placed under newcomer head coach Jon Scheyer. There he would play his freshman year, in which he did not disappoint. Kyle was a great scorer and rebounder who was able to become one of the most important pieces of a stacked Duke team from the beginning. Although it is true that during his first season at Duke, the center showed some weaknesses. Filipowski's always been able to shoot from long range, but that season he could only score 28% of his three-point shots with 3.4 attempts per game. A factor that hurt his efficiency in a big way, as he could only score 44% of his shots from the field. In addition, his performance as a rim protector and his court vision was questionable. Despite being a player who received a lot of touches on offense, he was never able to generate much for his teammates. In addition, he committed a huge amount of turnovers during the NCAA season. But all those problems can be improved at the next level, right? After averaging 15 points and 9 rebounds per game as a freshman, Filipowski had a real shot at a lottery position in the 2023 draft. However, in an unprecedented decision, he decided to return to Duke for a sophomore season.
I'm not done yet. See you next year.
Maybe it was because his new NIL deals could be so lucrative, or simply because Kyle knew that if he could correct some aspects of his game, his draft stock could propel him to one of the top spots in a weaker class of 2024. Or maybe a mix of both factors. But Filipowski's decision to stay in Division I for another year allowed him to improve in many aspects of his game. His three-point percentage improved to 35%, a very solid figure for a center, which in turn increased his field goal percentage to 51%. His assists average almost doubled from his freshman year, while he posted far fewer turnovers than last season. And his rim protection improved greatly, going from 26 blocks during his freshman year to 54 during his sophomore year. So despite being almost 2 years older than many of the players who would enter the draft in 2024, his selection in the lottery would be practically assured, or at least, that was the plan. Kyle was invited to the draft's green room. He was invited to be at the tables like the prospects who were destined to appear in the first round, but the center had to hear 31 names and wait for 24 hours in the now splitted draft before his own. It was the Utah Jazz with the 32nd pick in the 2024 draft that saved the biggest night of his life.
Kyle Filipowski from Duke University.
Kyle Filipowski out of Duke. He comes from really a family of basketball players.
Jonathan Gibney, one of the world's foremost experts on prospects and now an ESPN analyst, had this to say. NBA teams are talking about the fact that they had questions about his girlfriend being so much older than him, why he was estranged from his family because of this whole situation. It's a very, very odd situation. I personally don't understand why it would cause him to drop like this into the second round. No one was able to understand it. What did the fact that a 20-year-old man was dating a 25-year-old woman have to do with his basketball potential? I mean, they're both adults, right? Fans wondered what had really happened when the GMs of virtually every franchise in the league decided to pass on a player who seemed poised to make an immediate impact in the NBA. But as I've said before, this was just the tip of the iceberg. And yeah, the GMs knew it. The internet was quick to do what it does best, digging to solve any mystery to find out why. And they soon figured out what was going on. Kyle Filipowski and Caitlin Hutchinson had not met recently when they were both adults. And that's when things got darker. People found clues that Caitlin was Kyle's babysitter when the kid was just 13 years old. And what's worse, looking at photos from the two's Instagram accounts, people realized that Caitlin, 7 years older than Kyle, had started her love affair with the kid when he was only 16. Something that, well, already completely crosses the threshold of certain accusations for which YouTube could demonetize this video. This situation was worsened by the fact that Kyle had lost his relationship with his family. It was his own family members who spoke about it on Twitter, using their accounts to denounce a situation with which, logically, they were very disappointed and worried. In their eyes, their own son had been figuratively kidnapped by a woman much older than him when he was not even age of consent. So this drama went around the world. In fact, many of you watching this video probably already know what I'm talking about. Now, Kyle was not undrafted. In fact, he was far from it. And we're almost certainly going to see Filipowski on NBA courts this season. So what can we expect? Well, it's not a mystery. Kyle's one of the favorites to become a steal of the 2024 draft. A draft that, as I said, is one of the weakest in a long time. And it's clear that Filipowski is, for many experts, a first-round talent. In fact, for many scouts, the now 7-footer is a lottery-level talent. Why? Well, the reasons are many. For starters, Kyle is a mobile player. He can play both center and power forward, offering his long-range shooting to any team interested in him. He also has good defensive capabilities, being a good rim protector and a dangerous player in the passing lanes. But most importantly, he's shown great ability as a roller and as a cutter. In short, he offers a two-way center profile capable of streaking the floor while providing a good defensive contribution. Or in other words, we're talking about a center well-suited to succeed in the modern NBA. Now, scouts are not stupid. They can be overzealous and even delusional at times, but rest assured they have more information than any Twitter or X user has. And it's clear that if his on-court potential had been extraordinary, some team would have taken a chance on him in the first round. So no one expects Kyle to be a player capable of changing the course of the Utah Jazz on his own next season. But let's be honest, how many players have the ability to do that in this draft? And how many of the players picked in the first round of the draft have shown as good of a performance as Kyle Filipowski has in Division I? Or let me ask it in another way. To what extent should controversy be able to affect the success of a professional team? I guess we'll have to wait a while to find out the answer to these questions.